this ish is hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you go out, you're fighting in the world. I'm fighting against uh, systemic oppression. I'm fighting against um, the regional demons. I'm fighting against in-house interpersonal conflict. And then to come home, I just want to chill. But you also need your husband. And I have to be so intentional about differentiating between what I'm leaving and what I'm coming home to. And I'm not always successful with that because I'm a human being.
Right.
And sometimes you just want to come home. You use the word, it's that mothering. I want to come home to the mother side of you and be like, come on, baby, it's all right. I remember as a kid coming home and kids picking on me and bullying me because I was undersized. And I would come home, mom was like, you handsome, baby. You gonna be something one day. You mama's baby. And I'd be like, thank you, mom. And so as a husband, I want that, but sometimes you can't give it because you had just as a bad of a day as I have, especially in these unusual, crazy, chaotic times all of us are living. So I think it's important that we as a couple have to be even more intentional about not being cruel to our spouses.
Oh, I agree. You know, we get wounded out in the world, you know, everybody pulling on us, things that we're responsible for, but sometimes that woundedness causes us to bleed inside the house where we're supposed to feel the safest. Or we can't really express fully on how the world has wounded us outside the door because it takes too many words.
Yeah.
You know? It takes too
And
many
sometimes
words.
cruelty isn't the words you use. Sometimes cruelty is silence. Because I think sometimes we have a tendency to withdraw or shut down when there's conflict, especially when you don't have any energy left.
Yeah.
Like men have so many words they use during the day. And by the time I run out of my words, the last thing I want to do is to come home and say it again.
Right.
And I heard you say once, when you, like, okay, here's a word you like to use. Baby, how are you doing? I'm fine. And as a husband, having been with you since 1988, I know you ain't fine. I mean, you fine, you look good. I'm talking about, but your emotional disposition does not match the words coming out of your mouth. Fine. Why do women say, or I don't want to overgeneralize and get in trouble. Why do you say you're fine when you ain't?
For me, just as you just said, when you come home or you've been out of the home in the workplace and you've used all your words, I too have probably used all of my words, especially if it's a reoccurring situation. If there's something that I've discussed with you before multiple times, and then you ask me what's wrong, it's like, well, dog, I don't want to repeat it again, or I'm not going to repeat it again to be defiant because I've repeated it 99,000 trillion times, and so the word you get is fine. That fine is packed with so much.
It's almost like this. It's almost like a stiff arm. Fine. I'm fine. And it's like, get away from me. And I'm like,
no, but the word fine is heavily packed with, I've told you this before, it's not a new behavior or a new reaction. You didn't listen the first 99,000 times. I got a 3-time limit. I don't like repeating myself. So why am I continuously having to repeat myself for the same thing? So
I love it.
Fine.
Now y'all getting it. Now y'all see what I'm getting? 99,000 times.
That is not an exaggeration.
99,000 times.
That's what it feels like. It may be a slight.
A slight what?
997,000, you know. But
you have a pet peeve of repeating yourself.
Oh my word. Yes, I do.
Where did that come from?
I really don't know. You know, I gotta excavate that.
Yeah.
I really don't know. But it really bothers me to repeat myself if I've already now not for the sake of repeating for clarity. Now I don't mind repeating for clarity, but when I gotta repeat the whole scenario when we had an eyeball, we looking at each other, having a conversation, then I gotta repeat it. Then
I got it.
it's like
I got a
I'm
moment.
through.
I got an example for you.
Uh-oh.
It was just the other day,
Oh wow.
and I hope it's okay to share. It's about the dentist. Is it okay?
Oh sure.
Okay. So I'm getting up and get ready to go to the gym. We part of our routine is to ask the other person, "What do you have for the day? What's on your calendar?" And I said, "Babes, what did you say you had to?" I got to go to the dentist. My next question, ladies and gentlemen, America, was, "Why do you have to go to the dentist?" Your answer was,
Why do people go to the dentist?
"Ah,
It was.
I'm going to get a cleaning." Now, ladies and gentlemen, she went to the dentist, and the dentist says, "That crown that you've been having trouble with, I'm going to have to do something with that because you should not still be having pain." I knew that my wife was having trouble with that crown. So I didn't know whether it was a cleaning, the crown, or some other procedure she might have to have at the dentist. Why did you give me that little snide remark? What do people do when they go to the dentist?
Because generally, a dentist is just for a cleaning. And if there are any additional things that's going on with per said teeth, it's probably a specialist that you would have to go to. And at the time, I was just going for a cleaning. And
But did I know that?
no, but you also didn't know that he was going to have to replace a crown.
So hence my question, what you going for?
It was too early. It was too early.
So that part, say that. You're not a morning person and you don't like talking in the morning, right?
Of which you know. You asking too many questions early in the
So
morning.
the best thing I could do as your husband is to do what?
No, I already told you what's on my calendar. Quit trying to, what you going to the dinner for? What you do? Just accept.
Just accept that one little answer, I'm going to the dentist, and just be done with
Yeah,
it.
let me thaw out for a couple hours.
And then maybe you'll be more
Oh,
conversational.
yeah. Just like on my way back, I told you what was going on.
But you do bring up a good point. You do bring a good point. I think you have to know the rhythm of your spouse.
Yes, definitely.
I have to know that you're not a morning person. You got to know that when I get home, I don't use all my words up.
Right.
Right? And so decompression is necessary for me. Thawing out is necessary for you. Right?
That part.
So I think learning each other. But there are times when life becomes so overwhelming. And I think there's 3 reasons why we sometimes take out our frustration on each other. Number 1, misplaced pain. People can poke at us and we take so many jabs and we try to let it roll off. But by the time you get home, you are so tired from getting poked and punched that sometimes the spouse gets the residual effects of what you had, the gauntlet you had to go through.
Right.
Whereas our home should be a place like a pit stop where we come and get nurtured and poured back into. But I like what you said earlier. It's unfair to think that your spouse is going to replenish everything that you've expended during that day. However, it should be a point of empathy for the spouse to say, I recognize you're not feeling well. Is there anything you want to talk about now? Do you need some space?
Right. And what you mentioned before on being able to come home and decompress, I think it's a wonderful tool for both spouses to have and to know that spouse needs that space to be able to decompress.
Yeah. Can you say a little bit about number 2, passive cruelty?
Yeah, that passive cruelty is that, you can, just as you can hurt your partner, your spouse with words, you can also hurt your spouse without words. Like the lack of telling your spouse, how you feel, or today wasn't a good day, or just using too much, I'm fine, when that word is a volcano waiting to erupt.
Or just walking around the house and not saying nothing.
That one,
That's cruelty.
Yeah.
I've known some couples we've counseled where one spouse has not talked to the other spouse all week because they were upset about something or had a disagreement, and so they decided to torture the other person by not saying anything. That is cruelty. And so we have to be careful about what we say, and we also have to be careful that we don't shut out our spouse. What's the last one?
The last one is that emotional laziness. You know, sometimes you're not being cruel, you're just careless and reckless. Like when you're tired, you can just come off as being, well, I can't come off as being mean. I'm not saying you as you.
Talk about it, mama.
You can just come off as being mean on like,
going to the dentist?
that wasn't mean. I was thinking, to me, that was not being mean. I think there was some I was looking for some commonality of knowing why you went to the dentist. But anywho, but I think just being lazy and saying, on the other hand, what's on your mind. You always, using those words, the use and the always, and you never.
Instead of using I,
exactly,
I feel like.
You feel like, or being short with your words, being too curt, or even the tone. If you know the temperature of your spouse, how your spouse reacts to different things, then kind of be more responsible. I'm not saying hold your spouse's emotions with kid gloves, but there is a level of responsibility that we should know as partners so that we can kind of nurture.
You can't
our
be
spouses.
emotionally lazy at work.
Oh no.
Why?
You're fired.
Boom. So if you come off and just shoot off with a customer at the mouth and say something sarcastic or smart, you could end up getting written up or even lose your job. So here's the thing: treat your spouse like a customer.
That part.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's the most important. That's more important than what happens at work. Yeah, that's more important than what is to make sure that your person is in a good headspace and they know that you love them.
Yeah.
That the customer's always right. That I value your opinion.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I think that summarizes. The best part about going through rough spots and sometimes having little skirmishes or disagreements is making up. And I think intimacy, making love, is one of the best medicines for when you're not feeling good. We prayed with each other. I think that's spiritual intimacy. We went in there and we cried out to God. We got it all out. But it's also something about laying in the bed and cuddling and embracing each other and becoming one and kissing. And you release those bonding chemicals, oxytocin, and the dopamine and the serotonin. And you're like, after a while, you forget about what's going on out in the world because all that matters is the world that you all have created together. And so I think it's important that everybody knows that we're on the same team.
Yes.
That you and your spouse are on the same team. You're not the enemy. Don't be cruel to the person who needs your love the most. What else would you say?
I would say that making sure that you continue to be transparent and not only your actions but in your words, and making sure that you kind of continue to check the temperature of each other daily.
Guys, we're not living in normal times. It's hard as hell out here for married couples. I ain't gonna lie to you. And if we're not cognizant and self-aware of how much this stress is weighing in on us, we will unintentionally take it out on each other. Your spouse, she's not my enemy, she's my teammate. I'm her teammate. And when we are together on one accord, nobody can stop us. But the trick of the enemy is to make you take your frustration out on the person who cares the most about you. And so we got to make sure we protect that space. So that's it for tonight. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Listen, if you got something out of this tonight, do us a favor. Like, share, subscribe. We're almost at 1,000 with our tribe. We're almost at 1,000 couples. Let's make this thing happen. And we're going to make it together. Baby, speaking of making it together, what do you want to tell them about needing a coach and a community?
Yes, most people's just like me going to the dentist. You have a dentist, a doctor, all these other professionals that help you keep you healthy. We want to make sure that we help you keep your marriage healthy. So we have a wonderful program called Eden Circle where we're with couples, we do coaching, we meet up where we want to help each other continuously stay married. And so if you're interested, please go to theedencircle.com.
Don't be cruel, because I'll never be that cruel to you. Bobby Brown had it right. We are not each other's enemies. We are each other's teammates. We love you guys, and do us a favor, share this with other couples so we can restore Eden and make our marriages what they were always meant to be. Love you guys. We'll see you next time.